People, welcome back. Episode 2, Woodworking for Beginners. Not going to drone on, just get to it. So, in the last video, you saw that we had 10 cheap tools. I'll have to check back, but I can't remember if one of those 10 was safety glasses. Anyway, you can pick them up. Screwfix, tool station, pound shop, anyway. Just cheap safety glasses. They will save your sight. They will save your vision. So, as the name says, safety glasses. Right, so that's all we're going to do in this video. The second episode is measure and cut a piece of wood. That's it. You've got to cut a leg to hold up a shelf because the shelf is falling, or you want to prop a table up, or your chair's wonky so you want to trim the one leg. That's it. First thing you do, sharpen your pencil. Use your Stanley knife or utility knife, whatever you want to call it, that you bought from the pound shop. I'm not teaching you to suck eggs, but when you sharpen your pencil, don't go woomph, woomph, woomph. Go at a sharp angle. See how long the lead is on the pencil? Focus! If you've got a long lead on the pencil like that, there's more strength because you've got more lead protruding. If you've got a short stubby, it'll just give you a big thick fat line, and you don't want that. You want a sharp pencil. So, shallow angle, hold the pencil, hold the knife, dunk, 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 dunk. If you've got a pencil sharpener, use that. That's better, quicker, job done. So, we'll come over to the bench. I'm going to cut a little piece of MDF because that's going to be for our first project, the next video. But it's showing you how to mark and how to cut your piece of wood that you want to prop your shelf up with, or show people I've cut a piece of wood. Stay tuned, we'll go down to the bench. Right, excuse the noise of the heater, but it's a bit Baltic in here today, so... Right, basically this is everything we're going to need for cutting our first piece of wood. Obviously you don't need all them tapes. I'm just showing you that there's different variety of tapes, different sizes. Doesn't matter. Whatever tape you got, we'll use. So, get rid of those. We'll use that one. We've got our tape measure. We've got our square. We've got our pencil. Our saw. Again, this is a tenon saw. Doesn't matter if you've got a panel saw, a jack saw, tenon saw, dovetail saw, pad saw. Doesn't matter. Whatever saw you got, so long as it's for wood, that's what we're going to use. For this demonstration, I'm just going to be cutting a piece of MDF because I'm going to make a little project for the next video that you can make along. I'll tell you a little bit about that in a bit. Yeah, that sounded good. Yeah. Right, so anyway, I'll have a quick chat with you about the tape measure and then we'll start getting into it. Okie dokie. Right, now all tape measures have numbers on them. Surprise, surprise. Here in the UK, 99% of the tapes will have inches on top, imperial they call it, and centimeters, which is divided into millimeters, on the bottom. Can you see that? That's metric. A vast majority of the world now works in metric. I know America still use inch quite a lot, so most of their tapes will only carry the inches. Some of our UK tapes only carry millimeters and centimeters, but it doesn't matter. You'll see why now. So we want to cut a leg for a shelf that's falling down. So what we do, if you look on the end of your tape, you've got a hook. Now that's great because you can hook that over things and pull the tape out. But also you'll notice that hook moves. Only a slight amount. Your tape isn't broke. It's supposed to do that. We'll go into the reason why in depth in other videos. But basically, you can use your tape to measure an inside measurement and also an outside measurement. Now that movement is exact thickness of that hook, which makes allowance for that when you measure. But we'll go into that in another video. So for now, let's pretend that you want to measure a leg to hold up your table. How are we going to do it? Let's go down onto the workbench and we'll have a look. Right, I've just set this up now to pretend that this is your shelf and this is the floor, or this is the floor and that's the shelf, whatever. You just measure in between so that you can cut a piece of wood to fit in between. So get your tape, pull your tape out. You can either use the stop on the tape by pushing that down, that holds the tape out, or like most people, just push your finger against the tape and it'll stop it coming back. Some tapes have a little button underneath as well that you can use to hold it, but easiest way, just pull it out, put your finger there, and that's it. You can leave it back little bits. Right, so we want to get a measurement of inside that. So how do we do it? Well, we need to butt the end of our tape up against the floor or the shelf, pull the tape out past where we need to read, and then take a measurement. So I'm pushing against my shelf and I'm looking on my tape and I've got 20 centimeters or 200 millimeters. So I know the distance from the underside of the shelf to the floor, or vice versa, is 20 centimeters, 200 mil. So now I need to cut a piece of timber 200 mil. How do I do that? Let's have a look. Right, so we got a piece of timber that we're going to be cutting. So this can be your piece of 2x1 or your piece of 2x2 or 6x1, whatever you want to use to hold up your shelf. I'm using a piece of MDF. Like I said, we're going to be doing a project for the next video, so I'll be cutting this. First thing you do is look at your timber to see if you've got a reasonably flat edge. I don't want to be marking off this edge because, as you can see, it's a sawn edge. So if I put my square on there, that's going to give me a false 90 degrees. So first of all, find yourself a relatively straight, clean edge. I'm trying to do this around the phone, so bear with me. Right, I've pulled out my tape now, past the measurement that I'm going to need, and I'm going to lock my tape off. I'm going to hook my tape onto the end of my timber. Radio, there you are, like that. And I'm looking now for my 20 centimeters or 200 mil, and I'm just going to put a little line, a little mark. I'm not going to go scribbling, just a little mark like that. Don't need the tape. So now with my square, I'm going to sit my square on the relatively straight edge, and I'm going to bring it up to my mark and draw a line. Now a more accurate way of doing it is put your pencil on your mark, and if I can do this around the camera, slowly slide your square up until it bumps into the pencil. Hold your square there, draw your line. Again, you're not trying to do a big thick biro mark. A thin pencil line is all you need. Now, the only other mark we need now is we can cut that square, but we got to make sure that when we're going through the thickness, we are not wavering off, we are cutting square. So we know this face is 90 degrees to that. So if we put a mark on there to remind ourselves, turn the timber, find your mark. This time you're going to put your square against the face you've just marked. There you are. Again, pencil on your mark, bring your square into it, mark your line. So I know now that is square, and also that's square. If I want, I can put a mark down this face as well. But again, I need to put my square on the first face, which would be that way. Bring it up to my mark. Again, pencil on the mark, bring the square up, scribe a line. And that's it, you're ready to cut. If you want, you can check your measurement just to make sure before you cut, because we always measure twice, cut 4 times. So there, I've got 200 millimeters or 20 centimeters. I'll get set up and we'll go for the saw. Okie dokie, right, I'm really going to struggle with this one now because I've got to try and work from behind the camera, so bear with me. We got a saw. Don't run your hand up the blade, it's sharp, obviously. You're not that dull, are you? Right, so how are we going to cut this piece of wood? Are we just going to go and hack away at it? No. First thing we do is we're going to hold our saw like that. Then you're going to point with your finger. See? I'm pointing where I'm cutting. If you're left-handed, hold the saw, then point with your finger. You'll find that that will give you a greater control over that saw in both planes. Whereas if you do that, you've got a tendency to wobble and twist and put the finger and point where you're cutting. That's your first tip. So, we've got our mark, we've got our saw, we're pointing our finger. What do we do next? Just hack and hack and no. We're going to use our thumb carefully. Put the saw that side of the line. When you cut, obviously your saw, I can't see myself, there we are. Your saw, exaggerated now this is. If that's the one edge of your saw, the teeth, the other side of the teeth is going to be here. This is my waist. I want to throw that bit away and keep that. If I cut with my saw blade from there over, then that's going to be smaller than my measurement. So always cut with the teeth on your waist side. Make sense? Right. Got my saw. I'm doing the pointy. I'm going to put my thumb against the saw blade and I'm going to bring the saw teeth, this edge of the teeth, I'm looking down that line to my line, and then I'm going to put my thumb against it, carefully draw the saw back a few times. That's all you're doing. You're not chunking forward, you're not chunking back, you're just nice and gentle, pulling back just to get those teeth started in that cut. See it? If you want to use your finger, but be careful, because if that saw jumps, it'll... I know, because I done that 30 years ago when I was apprentice and I cut almost to the bone. So I always learnt. I use my thumb to guide the blade, and then I'm just going, I'm not putting any pressure. If you're using a blunt saw, throw it away. Go and buy a new one. A blunt saw will cut your fingers off. even though it's blunt. It'll make you jump and go, and anyway. So it's back into the little groove I've made. Thumb against just to guide, and I'm looking down from the handle. I'm looking down that blade, and I'm looking through to my lines. I'm looking at that line, and I can see that line. Now, like I said, I'm working from behind the camera, so I can't even see the lines at the moment. When you cut, you don't do like Billy No Mates to do. Back and forth, stabby, stabby, stabby. You do a full pull back, almost. Full pull forward. Push forward. Pull, push. Pull, push. Pull, push. Use the full length of the saw. That's why it's got teeth all the way. So as you can see, we're making our cut. I really am struggling to do this behind the... This hand is holding the timber down. If not, that's going to happen. If you've got a stool, put this on the stool with this over the edge and put your knee on there. Or use a clamp if you've got clamps. If you've got somebody else, have them to hold it down. Once you've started your saw, you can take your thumb away. See? And that's all I'm doing. I really am. Right, if I go like that, maybe I can get it better. I'm just leaving the saw cut the wood. Yeah? You can see online. So I'm going to cut this. It's hard for me to do, like I said, behind the camera. I can't even see the lines. But basically, I'm just guiding that saw back and forth. I'm leaving the saw cut itself through the timber. I'll cut that. We'll come back and have a recap. Right. Once you've got your piece of timber cut, what I was always told, to be spot on, you need to just be able to see a line left. Which you can, just about. Yeah, just about. The acid test is, now that's the straight side that we used our square with to start with, is to just check him. We do this behind camera. Slide him over. Check him on the edge of the piece and see that he's there. Can you see that? Where do you go? Yeah. And if you want to do the other way, you can do the other way and say, oh wow, look how square you can cut a piece of timber. It's practice. Like everything, it's practice. When you first start, that saw is going to be jumping about and wobbling and twisting. The trick is your thumb. Get your thumb in there. Lock your thumb, lock your hand, hold the timber tight, and remember, draw back. Draw back. Draw back. Only a few times, and that will give you the first little groove that's going to get you started. And remember then, it's full cuts. Draw the saw probably that far all the way back. That far. You don't go right the way back because you'll jump out of the piece of timber. You'll go forward and you'll rake into your finger like I did years and years ago. So draw it back, draw it forward, and just keep working away. Like I said, your sight line, you're looking down the back of the blade, down through the blade at your line. Pretend that's the line. You're looking, so there I know I'd be cutting off my line. There I know I'd be cutting off my line. So look down there. Right, so I'm not going to teach you anymore to suck eggs. You know how to measure. If you want to measure the length of something, hook it over, read. If you want an internal, push it against, take a measurement. So you know how to use a tape measure. It's up to you if you want to use the inches or centimeters and millimeters. Like I said, I work in both, but that's entirely your choice. Take your measurement in one or the other and stick with that. So you can measure, you can mark, you can cut, go make your leg that you need to stop your shelf falling over. Give it a try. Be careful of your hand, take your time, and you'll do it. The next video we're going to be making a little bench tool out of scrap MDF that's going to make this a lot easier. Stay tuned. Next video will be up really soon.